was Steve Seaman, who got hot under the collar as he was put off into the chicane.
Heading away on the formation lap of the Whitsun Trophy. Unburnt hydrocarbons rich in the air as Ollie Bryant leads the field away from pole position in car number 2, the white and red, or white Lola Chev with the red stripe up the centre. Rob Hall with the Palmer Violet highlights on his white McLaren M1A, and on the outside of the front row, the two-tone blue car of Stuart Hall. John Spires, another McLaren M1, it's an M1B, the slightly later version, and Mark Shaw in another M1A on row 2. Ford GT40, car number 37 of Gordon Shedden, the multiple touring car champion, is on the inside of row 3, with Chris Jolly in the Cooper Monaco. Very different looking car to the big McLarens and Lolas. He's in the centre of that row. Alex Thistlethwaite on the outside in his Lola T70. Then James Cottingham in the Ford GT40 with the multicoloured narrow stripes up the centre, and alongside James is Nick Padmore. Tony Sinclair, James Bellinger and Sean Lynn make up the next row ahead of Ewan Surgison, who's back in another car this afternoon, Peter Clutt. Then the bright yellow car, Katsuki Kubota in the Lotus 30, Pedro Machado Silva, and Richard Mines, car number 9. Phil Shepherd in the Goliath AC Cobra with Ian Simmons, Joachim Volks-Rusenol, then Tim Meinrich and Steve Seaman not starting in car number 70, that was damaged. Not badly damaged, but damaged enough, I think, given the short turnaround between practice yesterday and racing today. So it's Tony Seiler will start then with no car alongside him. Andrew Waring, Marcus Black, and Marcus Black, the remaining car, James Davidson. So Steve Seaman wasn't on the grid. Who was the other car, Bruce Jones?
Andrew Waring, so down
Andrew
right
Waring,
towards
okay.
the tail. So 2 of the last 5 cars won't start,
18.
but certainly the other 25 will. And if you thought it was noisy when they had their practice start away from the grid, wait for the real thing. 100% intent, and I don't want to count how many horsepower. We are dealing many, many thousands.
Yes. Yeah, I think the ante to get a seat at this table is around 450 horsepower, and anything beyond that, and yeah, your day just gets a lot busier. And that's basically the way it is. The more horsepower you've got, the busier your race is going to be.
Bear in mind, these are big, wide cars as well. They're going to occupy an awful lot of the track. Any overtaking into the chicane, one does feel, will lead to tears.
Yes, you'd better be pretty surgical. So the 2 GT40s, the one with the yellow stripes, nose to tail, that's Gordon Shedden, and the one with the very narrow red, white and blue pinstripes, easy for me to say, that's James Cottingham. The 3rd GT40 off the 2, obviously, is the one in the pale blue livery with the stripes down the centre. And the 4th of them is the white one. There are 5, in fact, because we've got the open car as well, the GT40 Roadster, which is such a familiar sight here on these grids, and that's Pedro Machado Silva. So we have 25 cars then coming to the line. The green flag waves, who are ready to go for the Whitsun Trophy. They've been given a 5-second board with the red stripe. Ollie Bryant, the man on pole. In the centre, Rob Hall. Good start from Stuart Hall on the outside as well, no relation. And away they go. Smoking wheel spin from John Spires, but he gets the Chevy hooked up in that McLaren M1, and he is looking down the inside of Stuart Hall for 3rd place into the first corner at Mandarin.
Well, Mark Shaw made a poor start in an earlier race today. He's done it again, so he's gone tumbling backwards. But pole start to Ollie Bryant's got a 2-car length advantage as they get down to Ford Water. Gosh, they got there quickly, and that just shows the pace of these cars. Into the little dip, into St Mary's, it's Bryant very tightly ahead of Rob Hall and Stuart Hall, keeping that front row intact.
Looks like Katsuki Kubota was very slow away. Can't see the yellow car in the pack. I think he is right at the back. He is right at the very back in that Lotus 30. So I'm not sure if that car has the traditional Lotus Queer box that never really worked very well. I'm not sure.
Did he have a spin on his own? He could have done, because he's that far back. But the race leader, Ollie Bryant's got it absolutely hooked up at the front. The Lola T70 Spider just already eking an advantage over the 2 Halls, Rob and Stuart. It's Rob in 2nd place, as he was in the grid, and then the more bulbous looking M1B McLaren tucked into 3rd.
Yeah, Stuart Hall in 3rd position, and where Ollie Bryant is exactly where you want to be, unflustered by people behind, so you can just focus on the car for the first couple of laps, not overwork the tyres, not get them overexcited amongst themselves, just sort it out, get it balanced out nicely, and then you can start to put your head down and really try and pull away. Rob Hall, Stuart Hall, second and third. John Spires in fourth place, where he was on the grid ahead of Mark Shaw, who's recovered to fifth. Car number one, the red car with the green stripe, Tony Sinclair, another of the Lola T70 Spiders. Let's take a look. Watch the yellow car, Katsuki Kubota. Did he jump or was he pushed? He jumped, or rather, the Lotus pushed him.
Well, that's true to period as well, so very unfortunate for him. He's fallen back. Another person who dropped a lot of positions was Chris Jolly, who qualified the Cooper Monaco, the Chevrolet engine version, very well indeed. He's fallen down to 10th place. Yeah. Others who dropped, Gordon Shedden started well, but he's down to 12th position, having started 6th in that silver and yellow Ford GT40.
Yeah, the lead GT40 is in 7th place. It's the car of James Cottingham, car number 23. He's chasing Nick Padmore in the 55 car, and that is another of our McLarens. That's the Hamill.
He's the Hamill, and he started, Martin, down in 10th place, and he's up to 6th, so that's a mighty first lap from this Goodwood specialist.
Yeah, and the Hamill unique in this field. Don't see too many of them around, but it is a regular appearer here at Goodwood. There it is.
We certainly don't see too many around. It was one of three. Middle of shot there with the green flashes on his helmet. There is Nick Padmore really pressing on excellent exit speed. He gauged just right coming out of the chicane. And with that Ford GT40 in 7th hanging on, that's one muff, and that's James Cottingham on board really pushing hard. Shouldn't really be quite with them, but he is.
James Cottingham has a habit of doing that, getting cars where they really shouldn't be. But there's the Hamill in its sort of dark black cherry livery with a white stripe down the centre. Again, Can-Am was a great development place for all sorts of weird and wacky ideas and small manufacturers. That's exactly what you're looking at. There is Gordon Shedden giving chase to who is just ahead of him. That is Jolly. So Chris Jolly and Gordon Shedden both going backwards, both from 6th and 7th on the grid, and they are now down to 10th and 11th.
Yes, we keep talking, Martin, about Can-Am. Can-Am didn't come in until 1966, so only the youngest of the cars in this field. The cars before were racing in the US RRC, the Road Racing Championship, but one begat the other, and it went on to just phenomenal things and made so much money for McLaren. The Formula One team probably wouldn't have existed past about 1969 if it wasn't for the prize money they brought back over the pond.
Peter Clark in the white GT40 with the black bonnet. That's the prototype GT40, blown past around the outside by Pedro Macedo Silva is following him now. So who came past them? James Bellinger, I think, is the car that went by both of them. Leaders through the chicane again. 4th place, John Spires. 5th, Mark Shaw. 6th place is the other way around, isn't it?
Well, the Hall and Hall battle is exquisite. It was a third of a second on the start-finish line. I'm just looking at speed trap times, and the fastest driver, this happened as well in qualifying. I've seen 162.8 miles an hour by the driver in 10th place. So Chris Jolly, that Chevrolet engine in his Cooper Monaco is clearly very, very potent.
Yeah, plenty of poke in a smaller car, particularly when you present it to the air than either the Lola or the McLaren. There's Stuart Hall pushing on in car number 54, the two-tone blue car, and all over the back of Rob Hall. Rob Hall in 97, the white McLaren with the lavender nose and the lavender numbers and stripe down the centre, that big clear plastic gurney on the back. Another clear plastic gurney on the back of Stuart Hall's. If you wonder why they're clear, so the driver has something to see in the rearview mirror other than just vibrating alloy.
Well, just fantastic scrapping everywhere. The green and red Lola, that is Tony Sinclair down in the middle of the pack. But Ollie Bryant, he's not that far clear. It was 1.6 seconds last time, ahead of that great battle between the Halls for second place. It's 2 seconds now, and a third of a second between Hall and Hall, between Rob and Stewart, second and third. Great battle. Here's Chris Jolly, now with Gordon Shedden. Both of them, as we said, had a very poor first lap, lost 4 or 5 positions apiece. Coming up through the Cooper Monaco with the yellow helmet, that's Chris Jolly, and the silver Ford GT40 with the yellow stripes. That is British touring car expert Gordon Shedden.
And behind Anthony Sinclair, car number 1, that's the red car with the green stripe. And just behind him is the 98 car, that's Alex Thistlethwaite in his Lola Spider. These guys are chasing that pair. Next GT40 behind them is the pale blue car, Sean Lynn. But Stuart Hall now really angling for a way to get by Rob Hall. He was halfway around the last lap, he was out of the chicane, he was down into Madwick, still trying to find a way through. So is Gordon Shedden, Flash in car number 37. that silver and yellow GT40, looking for a way past the Cooper Monaco. Cut back to the battle for second place. Rob Hall ahead of Stuart Hall.
And these two, if they weren't fighting each other, would be able to set off after Ollie Bryant. Their sector times are so similar. Ollie Bryant through the chicane for the 5th time, leading by 2 seconds last time around, about the same this time, but second and third, that is surely under 0.2 of a second. Let's see what the interval is. 0.194. It is under 0.2 of a second.
They're catching traffic. They go by Marcus Black. Tony Seiler has just peeled off into the pit lane in his Lola T70. He started towards the tail of the field. He's obviously got a mechanical problem. Stuart Hall sticking to it. It's his only drive here at the Revival this weekend. He is open to offers. He would love to do more racing at the Revival. He does a lot of work with Roald Goethe and particularly coaching Roald's sons, but he's not tied to Roald's cars, and Roald doesn't bring anything here to the Revival. So if you want a quick hot shoe, Stuart Hall's your man.
Here's a question, where to look? Hall versus Hall, or the run from 8th down to 11th place? Sinclair, Thistlethwaite, Jolly Shedden, almost nose to tail. This is fabulous. And these are big cars, and Mark Shaw goes spinning around out of 5th position. The Tyrwall doing what it needs to do. Didn't see how he lost it, but the car whipped around very sharply indeed on him. Little flame at the back, he needs to hop out of that, but I'm sure the marshals, well, they're already there very quickly indeed.
Treco Chev in the back of that car. And that was one of 2 cars that arrived here as car number 54. That one became car number 154. And out comes the battle for second. Rob Hall ahead of Stewie Hall. And just a little bit of breathing space now, Rob. Ollie Bryant with the headlights on. So hopefully his alternator is working. And he is creeping away, but the gap is sort of stabilised. Just over 2 seconds. It's as far away as he's got. He has just set the fastest race lap though, Ollie Bryant. So crept out to 2.3, and this is into St Mary's. Oh, goodness me.
Well, the car snapped away the first part of St Mary's. That is a long sideways tumble there for Mark Shaw, but went towards the sort of dummy commentary tower, and of course that tower was protected by the tyre wall, and the marshals could not have been on the scene faster, so great job for them. Now look back at the battle. Tony Sinclair, the red Lola T70 Spider, being pushed very hard indeed. Alex Thistlethwaite touching behind. There's been a change of position behind them because Gordon Shedden is now ahead of Chris Jolly, so he goes to 9th, Jolly to 10th. And
Rob Hall still holding off Stuart Hall. It was 2.3 seconds Ollie Bryant's lead over the battle for second last lap. It went out by a couple of tenths. He's doing 2.19s, but the guys behind are doing 2.19s, very low 2.20s, so there's not much in it. These two cars very evenly matched indeed.
Well, Stuart Hall sitting in the McLaren M1B in 3rd place is really trying to gauge this one. Where can I get the M1A? Where can I find an advantage? He's hung back a little bit, now he's closing in all over again. Maybe he's decided, right, I've got it. What's up ahead? Is there any traffic that can help me? Not as such. Marcus Black on the right-hand side of our screen there, slowing a little bit to let them through.
Gordon Shedden has moved up again, hasn't he? Flash has got by.
He's got up 2 more positions.
Yeah.
Because then comes Tony City. Gosh, he's done really well. He's passed all 3 of those cars, and the silver McLaren in the background is not part of that battle. It's a lap further back, car number 44.
So they've gone by that car.
Sorry, the silver McLaren with young Australian racer James Davison has actually caught that group.
Yes,
and he's the one on the move up.
So the car they went back by.
Safety car is being brought out onto the circuit because of the stricken 154 that went off into the tyre wall back at circuit. Mark Shaw's McLaren M1A. Safety car, there's the message, the wave yellow flags all around the track.
So the hard work and the fast laps of Ollie Bryant over the last couple of laps to go from 2.0 something to 3.0 something away will be undone. So the safety car will gather the field up together, and a big moment for the GT40. Ooh!
That's Joaquin Folcrosinol, the Spanish driver in the Escuderia Montjuic car, of course, that famous parkland circuit in the middle of Barcelona.
Oh my goodness, he was off a long way there, wasn't he? All the way down the straight into Madrid. Come on baby, come back. It never quite did.
That is one of the most fortunate spins I've seen there, because of course the tyre board on the outside would be coming right up towards him. He just managed to keep turning it far enough to the right to avoid contact. So that is a real heart in the mouth moment.
Yeah.
Now the safety cars at the front of the pack. The order is Ollie Bryant, Rob Hall, Stuart Hall, John Spires, Nick Padmore, James Cottingham in the lead GT40 in 6th place overall.
And that big spin as well, Richard Mines was the first man on the scene in that red number 9 GT40, and he must have seen his bank balance flash before his eyes. So, everybody back together.
Right,
there's the race leader, Ollie Bryant.
Right, as the field concertinas, we just talked about James Cottingham in the best of the Tour GT40s, and about 2 laps ago he had 4 cars between him and the next best, which is number 37 with Gordon Shedden. But Shedden had those outstanding standing couple of laps. He's now right on Cottingham's tail, and we could have for the final, well, we've still got 12.5 minutes remaining in this race, a real charge to see. There it is, car 37, it's silver and it's yellow, and a driver on board who is, as we say, an arch competitor.
Mind you, James Cottingham's no slouch. You can see the rescue vehicle there to tow away Mark Shaw's car, so it won't be too long, I don't think, until that McLaren is out of the way. You might hope that, I think probably it'll be this lap, maybe one more of the safety car, which will probably rob us of another 4 or 5 minutes. But it will give us plenty of racing before we get to the checkered flag. Ollie Bryant's lead will be down to a cigarette paper over Rob Hall and Stuart Hall, and that again suddenly opens the battle back up. When you've dug into the car and put in a couple of really quick laps, he had 2 consecutive fastest race laps, and then you get a chance to cool it back down again, he should still be able to fight with what he had.
Right, credit where credit's due. From 27th on the grid, albeit 25th because 2 cars didn't start, James Davison is the driver in that silver number 44 M1B McLaren. That's up to 10th place, so he has had the field compressed in front of him, and if he can carry on overtaking at that rate, who knows, even a top 6, which would be absolutely remarkable. And car owner Brad Hoyt will be rubbing his hands as he watches, and maybe covering his eyes as well, and his ears.
Well, he will, because Davidson in 10th place. Where is he coming through? Just there in the middle of your shot in that silver car, number 44. Getting towards the top 6 would have been really tough with the gaps that had opened up in the first 15 minutes of this race. But now, all bets are off. He's only a few seconds behind the race leader. As they come across the line, lights are still on the safety car.
Well, the first time they could possibly go out when they're coming down the Lavant straight towards the end of this lap. We're not saying it will, but that's the point at which the lights would go. You never have them being switched off as they go into the first corner. It's always towards the end of a lap, as a warning to the lead car. But every other driver in the pack behind will have to be looking at the body language of what's happening up ahead.
Just saw the red and white car of Ewan Surgison, car number 58. That's in Team Surtees livery, and Ewan with his London Rowing Club coloured helmet on. He's got a variety of different race helmets to suit the various different cars that he races. So when he races one of his Villiger Shadows, he has a Clay Regatoni replica helmet on, because it's a car that Regatoni raced. And here with his Graham Hill helmet for the weekend. This, of course, is a weekend where we are honouring Graham Hill. And
so look in the middle
of the Surtees team.
Sorry, Martin. I was just going to say, look at the 2 Ford GT40s in 6th and 7th position. You can be sure James Cottingham is eyeing up what's ahead, and so should Gordon Shedden as well. And
also looking over to their right to see if the car has gone. The car has gone, and it looks like it is tucked away safely, so we should be getting red to go back to green. Getting ready to go back to green.
Yeah, they should have just been able to pull...
One missing letter makes a lot of difference, doesn't it?
Not guilty, no guilty, no, I don't know how that works. But anyhow, certainly they didn't have to take Mark Shaw's car far. They just had to put it behind the dummy commentary tower, which is the one on the infield. Lights
off on the safety car. So the Porsche driver drops a gear and harries his way off to the pit lane. And there's the indicator for Ollie Bryant, for Rob Hall, for Stuart Hall, John Spires, Uncle Tom Cobley and all, that we are about to go back to green flag racing. The touring car driver in flash has switched the headlights on. Gordon Shedden's got the headlights on car number 37, just in case James Cottingham wasn't aware that he was right up his exhaust pipe.
Use a tool, any tool, as the example. So Ollie Bryant in that lead Lola T70 Spider, he can dictate the pace of the start when he drops it. The others will have to follow. They can't overtake before the start-finish line, but they can get as close as they possibly can. It looks very, very tidy in the middle order.
Yeah, very good indeed. Close battle between the two GT40s, and at the line, making a pass down the inside is Davison, the 44 silver car, just behind this GT40 battle. So that looks like a very good restart from James Davison. Hold the shot, hold the shot, hold the shot. Didn't get through. Okay, there's a little lock up there as well behind them into Madwick. So Davison now gets the run on the exit of Madwick, and through he goes. So he is now from 10th up to 9th place, goes by Thistlewaite in the Beacom coloured car. Next target is Sinclair in the red car with the green stripe, and if he hasn't got by before the end of this lap, I will be amazed. He is absolutely flying.
It's got a huge amount of grunt. Absolutely fantastic engine in Brad Hoyt's McLaren. James Davison doing the job, but now the GT40.
Cottingham, Shedden.
It's not over yet, but just remember the order. It was Cottingham and Shedden on the restart. It's still Cottingham and Shedden, but Shedden has many ideas and many ways of applying the pressure. Let's see which one he chooses.
And don't forget that Shedden started in 6th, Cottingham in 9th place. So Flash has got ground to make up. James Cottingham had a very good opening lap. See the two puffs of smoke as both cars bottom at the same point of the circuit. James Cottingham a little bit more flamboyant, Flash a little neater and tidier. And he is all over the back of the rival GT40. 23 with the pinstripes up the nose. That's James Cottingham. 37 with the yellow highlights. And Stuart Hall looking at Rob Hall again. Down into Madwick. 7 minutes and a little bit more remaining. So this plus maybe 3 more. Ollie Bryant again just easing away. Fastest second sector of the lap on the restart.
Yeah,
of anyone in the entire race.
Feel as though that it's a question of when, not if, that battle for second place. Stuart Hall is looking.
Right.
They have a problem with the GT40 battle because someone else is joining it.
Yeah, Gordon Shedden needs to be very on his toes here, because often when you're racing, a quicker car coming by opens the door much better than when you catch traffic. So that number 44 McLaren is coming up fast behind the GT40s. It's caught them, and Shedden needs to make sure that when it goes by them, as indeed it's bound to, here it goes in the background, coming down the Lavant straight, he needs to tuck in behind it and try and slipstream past James Cottingham as well. Now you can see in the battle in the background, through has gone the 44 car, Shedden's alongside, he's taken the opportunity and he's boxing James Cottingham out to the outside. That's exactly what Flash needed. Quicker car coming through always rolls the dice, and you've got to be ready to take the opportunity.
Martin, it's great you wrote the script before the start of the race, and it's really all coming true. Congratulations, but it's going to take a real leap of imagination for anybody to topple Ollie Bryant. He's now almost 2 seconds clear. Remember, it was a 3-second advantage before the safety car came out and bunched them up, but they just banged in the fastest lap of the race. That's our race leader.
Yeah, 1:19.1. The 2 Halls behind him are doing 1:19.5s, so he has got 4/10 a lap in hand. And now James Cottingham in 23, chasing Gordon Shedden for what is 7th place. So in fact, although Cottingham has been passed by 2 cars, he remains in 7th. Flash has got by, in fact, he's gone down to 7th from 6th. Flash has got by him, but so too has Davison, who's in 6th place. And the gap to Nick Padmore is a second, and it is not growing. Nick Padmore ahead of Davison, as we see Ollie Bryant leading from Rob Hall and Stuart Hall. John Spires sort of on his own, no man's land in car number 96 in 4th place, but Nick Padmore, 55, is going to have a lot of... Oh, Stuart, having a little think, showing his nose on the inside. He's using all the tricks, isn't he? Show your nose, just move around in the background, try and get the driver to check the mirror when he should not be checking the mirror, and see if you can unsettle a man in front.
Well, certainly is. So Ollie Bryant starts another lap. Lap number 14, still 2 seconds to the good. Under a 1/5 of a second between Hall and Hall, between Stewart and Rob, or more to point, Rob and Stewart. And now John Spires has lost a position. In fact, he's lost several positions. No, sorry, it's a timing glitch. It's a timing glitch. Nick Padmore still holding on to 5th place. Gordon Shedden ahead of Cottingham. Have to wait. No, James Davison now has risen to 5th place. Sorry, a little flurry of movement on the timing screen. So the driver who started 25th, James Davison in number 44 McLaren M1B, is up to 4th place. But this battle, this is a hard nut to crack. Well, it is Rob Hall. He never knowingly leaves the door open for anyone. Very, very fair, but he's been racing for a long time and huge mechanical sympathy as well. But Stuart Hall, well, same application for him.
I tell you what, if I could drive a car or prepare a car the way Rob Hall does, I would be a very happy man. Never mind combining the two together. Ollie Bryant is creeping away. Gaps out now to over 2 seconds, but the battle for second place is still alive, and you can just see the fog of fuel as they get off the throttle, as the throttle snaps open and shut during gear changes. You see that fog of onboard fuel behind Stuart Hall's head. Rob Hall, the car moving around a lot now. He's having to place it to deny Stuart Hall a run. Gets it neat and tidily through the chicane, thunders under our commentary position. John Spires in fourth place, the white and slightly darker purple car, and closing in, still closing, is James Davison, but the gap is not coming down quite fast enough. I think this and one more.
Yeah, and one thing, of course, with the field being bunched up behind the safety car, it means there's going to be no traffic immediately ahead of the two Halls, and that would have been the opportunity for Rob Hall. He's just got to get it absolutely fair and square. They're safe in second and third, just the question is which way around will they finish. But you have to say Stuart Hall has tried everything he can in that M1B McLaren, and the wise old bird up front, Rob Hall, has got the answers to the questions.
He really has, hasn't he? So far, Stuart Hall has not been able to find a way through. Actually, it might be this and two more. They're doing 119s. I think we might get a couple more laps out of this. Ollie Bryant is a couple of seconds up the road now, 2.6 seconds clear of this battle.
Right, fastest lap of the race, not our race leader Ollie Bryant, but James Davison up from the back, now to fifth place. He's below 1 minute 19, but he's got to find 2 seconds to catch John Spears. And
Stewie looks outside, cuts back inside, couldn't get his nose in the gap. Rob Hall judged that very well. Stuart Hall made him go in shallow, and he knew that he was going to run out wide. But the second element, there was just not quite enough room to get through between the two apexes at Woodcote. So Stu's going to have to try again, looking down the inside into Madgwick. There's the battle for fourth place. And there is James Davison closing in on John Spires. He's reeling him in, but has he now used too much of those rear tyres? Because the rate of progress seems to just have dropped a little.
Right, we've got this lap and one further lap. This is the penultimate lap, and with the second lap being gained by Davison on Spears, on the last lap he should be right onto his tail, and they're already right onto his tail as the Vinegaroon Special turns left at St Mary's and over the little brow into the dip, but just holding on. But James Davison is pouring that number 44 McLaren M1B over every bit of the slope, as the M1B, of course, of Stuart Hall is also being pushed so hard.
Yeah, really nothing between these cars. Rob Hall just with a little bit of a tail kicking out there, really chasing the throttle hard. Here comes Stuart Hall. That little loss of traction may have hurt Rob Hall. Stuart Hall is going to try and look again. Again, he's going to try and look to the outside and cut back underneath, but there isn't quite enough of an overlap. Down to the chicane for what will be the penultimate time. The leader has started the lap. It will be the last lap for these guys. So this will be a 16-lap race.
Well, Stuart Hall is really just applying every ounce of pressure he can, and no goes to the outside. In the background, we've got fourth and fifth places and possibly about to change. I think John Spears will be just in front of the line, 0.2 of a second to the good, but James Davison, maybe on Man Magic, will be through. But the last lap, at the end of the previous lap, we just saw the tail coming around a bit on Rob Hall's M1A. The pressure is really coming on like never before.
Davison hasn't made the move. He hadn't into Madgwick anyway, so Rob Hall with Stuart Hall looking on the inside down to St Mary's. Ooh, you're going to have to be brave. See that wall on the outside of the circuit standing up in front of you. Hits the little ripple in the middle. Rob Hall, half a lap to go. Ollie Bryant is away and clear. It's about second, it's about fourth. And John Spires and James Davison, 96 and 44. Here they are. This is for fourth place. No, that's the battle for second. The next two cars in shot. Davison's got by, the silver car has got by, so he's up to fourth place. We didn't see where it happened, but it happened, and Stuart Hall alongside on the last lap again. Look at the vapour coming out of the injectors as they snap through the gears. Stu is on the inside, Rob Hall. The door was not really open, but Hall just put his foot in. Last lap lunge, he got it done, neat and tidy, nice and clean. Ollie Bryant will be the first to the checkered flag. Victory for Ollie Bryant. Stuart Hall in second place. Rob Hall will take third, and And James Davison, ridiculously in 4th place from where on the grid, Bruce Jones?
27th, but 2 cars pulled out, so nearly from 25th. An astonishingly fast drive, fastest lap of the race to him. And I really thought that Rob Hall had done enough. He just didn't leave a door open. And I would love to see a replay. There we have our race winner, Ollie Bryant, celebrating there. But I'm fairly sure I saw a hand signal as those the battle for second place went down towards Woodcote. Rob Hall was Stuart Hall was just waving, I think, at Rob. I'm coming through. Yeah. You cannot resist me. You will not resist me.
Well, great race for second place. Great race from Davison as well. And last lap moment at the chicane. No, it's Kubota. This is back to live pictures. So he had a very lively first corner in the Lotus 30. Kubota comes across the line in 17th place. And the battle of the GT40s, by the way, Gordon Shedden just ahead of James Costigan. What do I mean by just? I mean 0.22 of a second, which is there was not a car length between them as they came across the finish line.
So let's just give you that finishing order. So Ollie Bryant, now take a look at this move.
Yeah.
There is not enough space for 2 big, broad, open-top sports cars down there. Late on the brakes, here comes the moment where, unfortunately for Rob Hall, he was on the outside line. He had to cede the position, and Stuart Hall forced his way up the inside. Really big twitch from him going through the second half of Woodcote, but he hung on, and that is second place in the bag. And in behind, John Spires had a similar battle with the number 44 M1B with a similar outcome.
Yeah, Stuart Hall really set that up as he came out of St Mary's through Lavant. He would have got the drive there through Lavant. He started to pull alongside as they got onto the straight. And once he was on the inside, down the straight, unless Rob found another gear somewhere, he was always going to be in the way. And Rob knew as soon as they got to the brakes that Stuart was still on the inside and that McLaren was always going to drift out wide. So Rob just had to roll off the throttle a fraction earlier, get on the brakes a fraction earlier and let him go. It was a classic last lap move, neat and clean, respectful racing from both men and some pretty epic stuff. So there are the top 3. And don't think that they're going to look cool and relaxed either. This is alligator wrestling in the bright sunshine, wearing winter clothing. This is going to be a very hot-looking trio. Waiting there is Ed Foster. So he'll have a chance to chat to our top 3. We'll get a look at the classified pools check just beforehand and confirm the result. But it was victory for Ollie Bryant in the number 2 Lola T70 Spider. McLaren's second and third, the M1B of Stuart Hall, car number 54, ahead of the M1A of Rob Hall, car number 97. John Spires is shown actually as a fraction ahead of James Davison at the line, but that's not what the Mark 1 human eyeball saw. So I never really like to argue with timekeepers. I will often question Stuart's decisions, but timekeepers tend to have science on their side. Well, disgracefully, Ollie Bryant actually looks like he did just meander around in the sunshine. I think that's really unfair. I think it's time to catch up with Ed Foster and hear from our top 3.
Right, Rob Hall is escaping round the back here. Rob, decades of experience kept him behind for the entirety of the race, but what happened coming out of Lavant? Did you just get a bit sideways?
No, for the last 2 laps, it's, I think we're on the bones of fuel. It was fuel surge, so it was a bit flat and then get straight and then it would go, but that was just enough. So, yeah, good race though.
A fantastic drive, well done, Rob.
Okay, cheers.
Right, let's find a second place man, Stuart. Where is he? Here he is. Stuart Hall. I mean, I don't know what to say after that. Your heart must have been in your mouth.
I mean, that was, being pushed on the grass at 160 mile an hour was interesting, but just sent it, And yeah, P2, wonderful.
These things look like quite serious things to drive.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ollie, Rob, all down the grid. There's quality, so really fun race to be a part of. Amazing event, absolute privilege to be here really in just any car, but to be in this with GPX is fantastic.
Well done.
Thanks.
Right, Ollie Bryant, here he is. Ollie, you started first, finished first, but it wasn't quite as easy as that.
No, it's the safety car made it a bit exciting, but Yeah, I've not actually won the Whitsun Trophy before, so it's fantastic to do it. I thought I had it under control last year, and then brakes faded at the end and Keeney got past me. So at Goodwood, it's never over till you check the checkered flag. So fantastic to bring it home, and I saw that Stu had a good battle with Rob in the mirrors as well, so it was really good. But special mention, obviously, to Simon Diffie running the visor strip on the helmet here, and he was always a good supporter of everyone and all the other sort of historic racing legends. So it's fantastic.
Well said, Ollie, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.